Imagine being a scrawny middle schooler, getting relentlessly bullied every single day.
Oh, man, the worst.
Right. And you do everything you're supposed to do. You report it to the teachers, you walk away. But, like, nothing changes.
Yeah, that's usually how it goes.
Exactly. Until one afternoon, you just snap. You clench your fists, you stand your ground, and you throw a physical punch. And suddenly, the bullying just stops cold.
Well, because taking matters into your own hands actually delivers immediate, tangible results. It feels like you're reclaiming your agency, especially when the system entirely fails to protect you.
Which perfectly frames the tension we're unpacking in today's deep dive. Welcome, everyone. We are looking at a collection of theological reflections on Psalm 109 and really exploring that deeply human instinct for revenge up against the much larger and honestly pretty uncomfortable concept of divine justice.
It is uncomfortable.
It is, because we all have that instinct to clap back at a playground bully or a toxic coworker. We do it because it feels effective.
Right. But the notes we're looking at contrast that very raw human instinct with a historical figure who actually had the absolute power to strike back. I mean, we're talking about King David.
The warrior, the guy who famously defeated Goliath.
Exactly. And in Psalm 109, David is surrounded by people attacking him with lies and false accusations. But instead of drawing his sword or, throwing that middle school punch, he makes a really surprising declaration in verse 4. He simply says, "I give myself to prayer."
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, though, because I have to push back on the idea of this being a peaceful surrender.
Oh, sure.
When you actually read what David is praying, it is brutal. I mean, he is furious. He asks for his enemy to be tried and found guilty, for his days to be few, for his children to become wandering orphans.
Yeah, it's heavy.
And his wife widowed, and his memory entirely erased from the earth. So how do we possibly reconcile dropping the sword with praying for someone's entire bloodline to be ruined?
I know, it's super jarring to modern ears. Psalm 109 is actually known as the strongest imprecatory or cursing psalm in the Bible.
The cursing psalm. Wow.
Yeah, but we have to look at the mechanism of what David is actually doing here. Verse 16 reveals that his accuser pursued the poor, the needy, and the brokenhearted to put them to death.
Okay, so this isn't just personal beef.
Exactly. David isn't venting over a bruised ego. He's witnessing systemic oppression and sheer wickedness. By directing those violent, aggressive thoughts directly at God, he is utilizing this sort of theological release valve.
So by verbalizing the darkest, most vindictive parts of his anger to God, he prevents those thoughts from turning into actual physical violence.
Right. It functions as a psychological and spiritual detox. I mean, think about what happens when you swallow rage.
It eats you alive.
It does. It ferments into bitterness and eventually dictates your actions. By being brutally honest with God, David is processing the trauma. He is deliberately transferring the burden of vengeance off his own shoulders and placing it in the hands of the ultimate judge.
Okay, let's unpack this transfer for a second. It feels like being a street vigilante who finally realizes that beating up bad guys in a dark alley doesn't actually fix a corrupted city.
Right.
So you hang up your cape, you gather your evidence, and you take your case directly to the Supreme Court. You aren't giving up on justice. You are just escalating it to the highest possible authority.
That's a great way to put it. And if that vigilante refuses to hang up the cape, the violence eventually corrupts their own psyche. They become the very monster they are trying to fight.
Wow, yeah.
The text asks believers to hold two seemingly contradictory truths. You have the command to love your enemies, but you also have the promise that perfect justice belongs to God. David is completely surrendering the execution of justice, but he refuses to sanitize his pain in the process.
Which brings us to you, listening to this right now. When you find yourself falsely accused or deeply misunderstood, how do you handle that anger?
Yeah.
Are you secretly plotting your own ways to get back at them? Or are you bringing that raw, unfiltered pain honestly to God?
Because that choice completely determines your own emotional freedom. Attempting to manage your own revenge creates a psychological tether to your abuser.
Oh, absolutely.
Every time you plot a comeback or obsess over their downfall, you are letting them rent space in your head. The desire for vengeance binds you tightly to the exact person who hurt you.
So if ultimate justice truly does rest in God's hands, then completely surrendering your secret desire for payback isn't giving up. What if refusing to throw that punch is actually the exact thing that frees you from the emotional control of the people who hurt you?